Ever since my years as a young teenager, my tastes and interest in the wonderful world of Japanese animation have gone through numerous changes and evolutions. The kind of content that got me started with the medium revolved around super muscular dudes tearing each other limb from limb in colorful, over-the-top fashion. And boy does that still play a huge role. But in the time of my life I'm in now, I've managed to come across more grounded, relatable animated stories that just want to tell, well, a story. These days, just seeing fictional people communicating in social scenarios and getting into relationships with a few laughs along the way can be some of the most genuine entertainment I can find, at least when it's good. Each and every one of us can relate to this stuff, whether it be in an active or retroactive manner, in ways that can be realistic or detached, with attitudes that can be comical or emotional, engaged or nostalgic. It's a broad and varied genre, which would be my first guess as to why it's so powerful. One such series of this variety has held my interest for years now. A series with ordinary people in an ordinary environment doing extraordinary things. It's a series I've always been intrigued with the idea of picking apart for myself. How could a high school romantic comedy drama be so noteworthy, you may ask? Well, it's my goal to try and answer that question for all of us today. Hello my friends, my name is Bryan, and welcome to Nerd Word Reviews. Today, we're going back a few years to look at the 2008 romantic comedy drama series that still pulls the heartstrings of the anime community over 7 years later. This is Toradora. Produced by Studio JC staff and based on the light novel series by Yuyuko Takemiya, Toradora focuses on high school student Ryuji Takasu and his next-door neighbor, Taiga Aisaka. Taiga lives in a big apartment by herself, and Ryuji lives with his mom, who works nights at a hostess bar. Ryuji's mom. Whoops, sorry. Ryuji and Taiga are quite possibly the most feared and infamous students at their school, with Ryuji having a large build and criminally scary face, and with Taiga being a tiny, underdeveloped package of dynamite, dubbed by her classmates as the Palm Top Tiger. These two meet under some rather violent circumstances, the violence being one-sided, mind you, in which Taiga misplaces a love letter directed at Ryuji's best friend, class representative Yusaku Kitamura. In an act of avoiding any awkwardness or embarrassment on Taiga's end, Ryuji comes to admit that he has feelings for Taiga's best friend, Minori Kushieda. Being the nice guy he is, Ryuji even offers to help Taiga in her efforts to open up to Kitamura about her crush on him, all the while having her over at his place almost every day for meals. This ends up filling in the void left by the living conditions these two have, and their partnership allows for Ryuji to be the dragon to Taiga's tiger. See? Tiger, dragon, Toradora. Hey, look at that! The first arc of the series, in a nutshell, is the daily life and shenanigans of Ryuji and Taiga mutually trying to hook up with each other's best friends, with, of course, high school drama and character dilemmas popping up to make things more interesting and less straightforward. This is where the series branches out beyond its initially simple premise and becomes a highly successful school drama that deconstructs and reconstructs its important characters by challenging them and showing how they behave when taken out of their comfort zone. Of course, with this series being a romance, tons and tons of love drama occurs, but what I think is great is that this aspect seamlessly blends and works together with the circumstances of each character's individual conflicts, an aspect that I find even more interesting in of itself. The romantic element of Toradora, thankfully, does not exist in a vacuum, and it seems to work best as a supplement for the more individualized drama among each character. Speaking of which, Toradora's characters, much to my relief, feel mostly like people, and not just mere archetypes that you almost always see in shows like these. Toradora isn't breaking any molds or anything, it's just taking what it has and making excellent use of it. The show does all of this with the aid of a super appealing visual style. If there was ever a show that so heavily benefits from the time in which it was first released, it's this one. There's no heavy reliance on computer-generated filters here. The characters don't stick so heavily to the style of the light novel illustrations that they themselves can't look readable or sympathetic. It's all just good, clean, simple animation, with a definite, solid color palette and a design philosophy that does everything it can to convey expression and emotion from its characters. Toradora does an excellent job with this, and I'd even say that it's one of the best looking shows I've seen from JC staff. The animation quality itself is pretty average, but it has this tendency to loosen up during moments with more movement and character nuances, and I think that goes a hell of a long way toward making the show stand out aesthetically. Sound quality is also equally noteworthy. Soundtracks don't usually mean much to me in realistic fiction anime, but Toradora's music manages to provide the right amount of memorable tracks that give the viewing experience just the right mood even after it's over. And of course it goes without saying that the theme songs are top tier. We all love Pre-Parade more than most other anime songs, and none of us are ashamed to admit it. This song alone is what put me in the right mood for every single episode of the show's first half. It gives the series the perfect sense of attitude and personality, and I'm sure you know how much I love those qualities. It's just a shame that it doesn't stick around forever though, as the second set of theme songs have to come in and set the tone for what will inevitably become a more dramatic and serious story as it reaches its end. These songs do their job well enough, but of course we have Attack on Titan syndrome here, in which case that simply just doesn't matter. The first theme was completely perfect and unbeatable for what it was, and there was really nothing else worthy of replacing it. Now, one reason why Toradora remains somewhat relevant today is that it was recently re-released back in 2014 with an English dub, 6 years after the show's original run. Better late than never though, as the English dub is honestly one of the best I've ever heard. Bang Zoom Entertainment always knows how to provide a high-quality product. The actors are perfectly casted, and the dialogue just goes to show how good the writing for Toradora already is. Unless you're just a purist for Japanese dubs, I highly encourage that you watch the show in this format. So, with pretty much every superficial aspect in the show staying at sufficient quality, all that matters at this point is whether or not the show can substantially deliver on its story. I'll make it clear now, Toradora's story is superbly told. Most of the time. As previously mentioned, what makes the narrative so strong is how it challenges its main and supporting characters. In fact, the occasions where the supporting and even background characters have time to shine are the points at which Toradora is at its best. Ryuji and Taiga are strong leads, especially in Ryuji's case, who just might be my favorite male lead in any light novel adaptation I've ever seen. But the fact of the matter is that both Ryuji and Taiga are at their high points when their actions are in support of other characters. This would make sense after all, as Ryuji often takes on the role of looking after Taiga and, to a lesser degree, his other friends. Meanwhile, I personally don't find Taiga to be that interesting of a character on her own, but she works well in a reactionary manner. Seeing how just about every response you're going to get out of her in any heated situation is going to be a violent and hostile one, her ways of dealing with issues that arise can range anywhere from entertaining and satisfying to just plain obnoxious and repetitive. What makes her character kind of work, though, is that her sweet side shows itself more and more throughout the series as she and Ryuji grow closer as friends, and as she begins to receive more love and support from the rest of her class. Taiga's maturity by the end of the show far outweighs whatever trace of it she had in the beginning, but her character arc overall is handled in ways that I find far less interesting than that of the other main characters. The other characters themselves, however, are a-okay. My favorite character is obviously Ryuji, but aside from him, I'm a huge fan of both Minori and Siri's villain, Ami Kawashima. Both of these girls are infinitely more layered than Taiga, and their interactions with Ryuji are just golden. Even with that said though, my favorite story arc in the show revolves around Kitamura, as he struggles with his responsibilities as a candidate for class president. I feel as though this arc delivers the deeper, more substantial messages of Toradora in a clear and concise way. What adds to this is that the arc manages to take a character I wasn't too fond of in the first place and make him into someone I absolutely loved. You know who else I love? The side characters. Their significance in the story really doesn't add much in the grand scheme of things, but they serve to flesh out the world and act as a constant reminder of the show's attention to detail. Seeing these people make progress in their own romantic endeavors in the background was always, funnily enough, one of the most satisfying things for me to see. It's some of the greatest and most effective fan service I've ever witnessed. All in all, Toradora provides an immensely entertaining high school romantic comedy drama story where the humor lands, the romance is sweet, and the drama is surprisingly powerful. And that's about as straightforward as it gets. Assuming you like the way it ended. Toradora's final 2 episodes are some of the most perplexing I've ever witnessed in an anime, and they ended up being the very reason I felt like this series was worth reviewing to begin with. If it weren't for these 2 episodes throwing a monkey wrench into my entire experience with the show, you wouldn't be watching this review right now, and I would more likely just be spamming Twitter all the time with outbursts about how perfect this series is in every way, kinda like I already do every now and then with shows like Gurren Lagann and Kekai Sensen. I've gone through rewrite after rewrite, scrapped rant after scrapped scrapped rant, tonal shift after tonal shift, rewatch after rewatch, trying to piece together my mixed thoughts on Toradora's two-part conclusion. So here we go, guys. If you don't want spoilers at all, leave now, because after endless consideration, I'm about to tell you why Toradora's ending is fucking awesome. The grand finale of this series in of itself is nothing short of phenomenal, and it only took me 3 times of seeing it to finally realize this. The underlying themes and messages that Toradora prides itself on are presented in full force in this conclusion. Sacrifices and revelations are made from every character's point of view, and the way it all wraps up is beautiful. But this is the most extreme case of Toradora benefiting from being a multifaceted series. Remember, this show is every bit as much drama as it is romance. With that said, I think the romance part was handled super sloppily in the end. Even though we had 25 episodes to get there, the romance element still seriously needed more time. You guys probably already know what I'm getting at here, but yeah, it's Ryuji and Taiga, of course, that's the end game. I'm just gonna tell you that right this second because honestly, the show is even better if you already know this going in. Hell, I'm sure you know this even if you haven't seen the series. It's everywhere now. So I promise you, the romance element of Toradora is sweet, but the real substance here is the character drama. I honestly believe that the romance element only works when it's in support of the concept of the individuals themselves growing stronger as people. The romance isn't even the most important element here, it's an afterthought to me. Let's reiterate on something. I don't like Taiga. I think she's the weakest character in the series. I think her design is horrendous. She looks like she's supposed to be Ryuji's little sister. She is far too dependent on her friends. Her personality is too obnoxious for me to fully appreciate those select few moments where she actually is appealing. She spends entirely too much time crying, whining, and yelling when she doesn't get what she wants. I don't think she deserves Ryuji, and I can't get behind the idea of Ryuji suddenly loving her back after being so dead set on Minori for all 23 episodes that came before such a revelation. This made me so angry in the past, but now, guys, I honestly don't care. The resolution of every single one of Toradora's plot strings is handled so beautifully that what once stood out as my biggest complaint is now set aside as a nitpick, and one that admittedly does work extremely well with how the story and ending plays out. And considering how much I really don't think these two belong together as a couple, that really is a testament to just how good Toradora is in absolutely every other aspect. For a show to flat out make me accept the idea of a couple I don't like is among the most powerful things it can do, and I wholeheartedly respect Toradora for that. So even though I don't think Toradora's ending is perfect, this is why I still find it to be amazing. Toradora has put me in checkmate. So, in conclusion, Toradora is a flawed but good-hearted series that delivers on some wonderful ideas that totally land. The tone for the series is perfect, masterfully integrating humor and drama together in more effective ways than I've ever seen from any other work of its kind. Even though I only care for certain small aspects of the actual romance element, I respect it for even being there in the first place. Toradora succeeds in more places than it even needed to, with superb characters, including a phenomenal lead in the form of Ryuji Takasu, along with engaging, entertaining, relatable, and heartfelt stories that show the best of what the human spirit has to offer. It may have all ended in a way that I didn't prefer entirely, but I can accept it for its intentions and its execution. The character of Taiga Aisaka needs a lot of work, and so does her relationship with Ryuji, but looking back in retrospect, the meaning behind it all is reasonable and admittedly sweet. It may not be perfect, but I can pretty confidently say that the rest of the series is, and I guess that's good enough for me. If you're looking for a great young people's drama to give you either a hopeful or, in the case of people my age, nostalgic look at high school life, this is it. Toradora is available from NIS America on Blu-ray and DVD, and is also streaming on Crunchyroll in both Japanese and English. Go check it out, and I'm sure you'll find something to enjoy. Also, while you're at it, go check out Golden Time. This series was also originally written by Yuyuko Takemiya, the author of Toradora, and it focuses on a pre-existing relationship between two college students. This series doesn't have quite the same charm or impact as Toradora, but it has plenty of story aspects that I really appreciate, especially in regards to how it ends. I'm pretty sure I won't be getting around to fully covering this one, so I'll just let you know right now that Golden Time is too a must-watch. Takemiya also recently finished writing a manga series called Evergreen, and I'd say it's a pretty nice read. It's got good artwork, a beautiful leading lady, and a simple and sweet story about a guy who goes after someone who's out of his league and... Whoa. Oh man. So that's how it is, Takemiya? Okay, well, fuck that. So yeah, Toradora and Golden Time, that's all you need, nothing else to see here. With all of that said, guys, this concludes today's episode of Nerd World Reviews. I've got a lot of friends that are probably gonna disagree with some of the stuff I said in this one, and I hope I didn't piss you guys off too much. It makes me happy that we can all be fans of this kind of stuff together, even while having varying opinions on it. That's what makes the world of critique and analysis go round. Until next time, guys, this has been Bryan from Nerd World Entertainment, and I will catch you guys later. Also, Minori is best girl.